We're going to go through the next few chapters of the book as we get to sort of the climax of the action, and also the answers to a few of the riddles that have been in place. So we left off the last one at chapter 4 of this part 3, I think it is. So we'll go from chapter 5. The first thing to note there, as we can see, and hopefully my notes fit inside the recording, we can see that now, even though this chapter is told by Rat, he's no longer called Rat, and he refers to himself as Junjun, and I think he's proved himself. He's no longer a rat. He's more than that. He's proved himself to be a valuable friend, a valuable team member, a valuable human being, and I think by calling himself Junjun now, he's changed his own perception of himself, and we've seen him develop his character a lot. Hopefully that email there just hasn't popped up on your screen. Never mind. We've seen him develop his character all the change. He's gone from this quiet, mousy little boy who hides in the dark to being almost the leader of the group, and certainly the one that has a lot of the good ideas. We see down here there's a reference to the Day of the Dead, which is November the 1st, often called All Souls Day. And it's the day when a lot of Christian religions will remember those that have passed, and that becomes a bit more relevant a little bit later. But we've got the characters, and they're in their little new hidey hole up the stairs, and they've just worked out the code, so they're getting ready to head to where they need to be when the police obviously come along. There is an interesting, just another example, I suppose, of the corruption that is in a place like this, particularly when we've got so many poor people, selling the kids out, as it says there at the top of the page. Might have been a way for the old lady that was living underneath them to make some money, because there's so many corrupt people, and it was such an easy way to make money. I've highlighted this next bit in pink. Money, just to demonstrate, my apologies, just how clever the boys are. This is Rat speaking, and if you look at those, there's some really clever ideas there that I'm not sure I would have thought through. That idea of crawling out of the room and being slow rather than running and starting panic as being more intelligent, rather than running at full speed and drawing attention to yourself. There's a use of the policeman trying to use, I'll put that back up again, trying to use the boys' need for family or their love of their family against them, but of course they are way too smart for that and don't fall for it. Little mark I'll put over here in blue. The boys work out that you can't touch all the wires, and it says there that once you've had a zap off a power line, you have to be careful. And then if we go over the page a little bit later, you'll see, I'm just trying to find my spot, I can't have to come back to it, but we'll see that that's another example of the boys, their experience. They find things that are dangerous, and they learn from those experiences, which is another great sign of intelligence. If every human being learned from their mistakes, we would be a much more successful society, I believe. If we go over the page, we move to chapter 6, where we see Raphael take up the story, and here we've got almost a real, there's that. It's talking about Rat, how he was so often grabbed, and that he was the one that would get away, and the phrase "once bitten, twice shy" sort of describes that ability to learn from our mistakes. But again, we see here this a growing admiration of Rat because of his ability to, evade capture and work in different places and put up with great difficulties. But we see it through Raphael and through Gardo's eyes, and by Mulligan using the different perspectives, we really can see the admiration for Rat growing and growing until we see points down here where it says that Rat led, which is at the beginning of the book we all assumed that Gardo was the leader, but I think by now Sophie assumes that the little skinny one is probably the leader. It says up here again, sorry, my mistake. Let's thank Rat again for being the one who got to know the area. Rat saw it once. So we've got all these lots of repetition of Rat doing great things. Rat was first, so he's the one leading them now. A couple of other things just to draw your attention to this. We're going to focus on the corruption theme. This burnt out building next door is another example of how corruption affects people, with hundreds of kids living in a burnt out building is the result, or the direct result, of their partner not passing on the money to those people who most need it. And I do absolutely love this when the boys get into the building and are escaping from the police. All of the other street kids see that they are obviously running away. They're obviously done something that has made the police chase them, and instead of handing them in or dobbing them, they actually start to join in, and by all the kids running out, it makes it virtually impossible for the policemen to identify our three. And this little bit just down the bottom, they're running in and out of stores, sort of shows us that it's not just the kids of the street that were supporting them in this fight against corruption and the corrupt police, but it's also the local businessmen and store owners. Just a little point up there where we said that they're all safe, and more evidence of them being smart, Gato being smart. A couple of things down the bottom here before we finish chapter 6. They obviously head to the cemetery. My mistake. They head to the cemetery for the Day of the Dead, and coincidentally, or by luck, or good management, or it's a day where everyone goes there, rich or poor, and that's going to allow the boys hopefully to slip in a bit unseen. I do love this last line here. I think that's really good. It's actually a nice lesson for all of us. That they were alive another day, and that was worth singing for, which is a nice sentiment. Okay, last little bit for this recording. We do move on to a brand new character. He's only in it for a chapter though, Federico Gons. He makes gravestones, which are there as reminders of those people that pass away. Couple of things here is that renting the grave, something that we don't sort of associate here with in Australia, that once you buy a burial plot that it's yours, but in a country where it is so crowded and there are so many people and so many poor people, then maybe we need to rent them and wait till a point in time where we could sell that spot to something else. I just found that an interesting one, and I do love this, that regardless of how poor or how rich or where people sat in society, there's a belief that everyone needs to be reminded that they existed, and everyone is important enough to get some sort of gravestone. He does mention that those marked in paint or pen are obviously the sadder gravestones, but everyone is remembered. This was something that I learned only through reading the book, is that in some countries the poor are not buried under the ground because the property becomes so valuable that they are actually stored in concrete boxes, which would hold the grave, and then they just get stacked up like tiny little apartments, I suppose, for the dead to believe in there. This is where the story does twist a little bit again. We see that Jose Angelico, we know his son died, Dante Jerome, or Jerome Dante. His son died, but when Jose was getting the stone made, he didn't get his son's name engraved on it. As you see down here, he had the name of Pia Dante Angelico engraved. And we know that Pia is Dante Jerome's daughter. We don't know too much about her yet, but you'll notice here that the lines here, seeds to harvest, that's that agricultural reference again, and that biblical reference, and it is accomplished, that quote from the Gospel of St. John, which was used in the note to describe this plan that Jose and Gabrielle had gone through was finished. And then, of course, good old Federico works out that it's lies at some later point, but we're reminded again of the corrupt police when Federico reads about him dying. The next little bits are interesting in the text as they actually become newspaper articles. So we'll have a look at those tomorrow night and post them for you as soon as possible. Okay? Cool. Where did that recording go? Where did my recording go? Okay. Oh, come on. Are you kidding me?